There's a version of you that only exists when other people are watching. You've been feeding it your whole life. Jung called it the persona. And the longer it survives, the more you disappear. It didn't start as a lie. It started as a strategy. You were young, maybe 5, maybe 6. You felt something real and loud and completely yours. And the room went cold, not because anyone shouted. Sometimes the lesson comes quieter than that. A look, a withdrawal, a silence that teaches more than words ever could. So you made a small adjustment. You softened the thing, hid it, performed something safer instead. And it worked. That's the part nobody warns you about. The mask works. People relaxed. Love felt easier to reach. So you kept wearing it, and slowly, without any single moment you could point to, you forgot there was a face underneath. By adulthood, the persona isn't something you put on. It's something you are. Your job title, your reputation, the way your voice changes in rooms where it matters. The version of yourself you've constructed so carefully that it no longer feels constructed. Carl Jung didn't study this as a flaw. He studied it as the most dangerous form of self-deception, the kind that looks exactly like confidence. Here's what makes it so hard to escape. Validation doesn't feel like vanity. It feels like proof. Proof that you exist. Proof that you matter. The unconscious mind, that vast, dark interior Jung spent his life mapping, cannot distinguish between being loved and being seen performing something lovable. The emotional reward is identical. The relief is the same. And so the mind does what it always does. It repeats what works. You read the room before you open your mouth. You adjust your humor, your opinions, your ambitions. Not consciously, not maliciously, but automatically, the way a plant adjusts toward light. You've trained yourself to need external confirmation the way a compass needs north. Not because something is broken in you, because at some point, very early, other people's approval was the only reliable signal that you were safe, that you were enough, that you weren't about to be left. That wiring doesn't leave when you grow up. It goes underground. And underground, it runs everything. The persona doesn't just shape what you show the world. It shapes what you're allowed to feel inside it. Every time you smiled when you wanted to scream, that anger went somewhere. Every time you said you were fine while quietly falling apart, that grief went somewhere. Every time you made yourself smaller so someone else could stay comfortable, that ambition, that desire, that raw need to take up space, went somewhere. Jung called what it became the shadow. Not evil, not weakness. The shadow is everything genuine in you that became inconvenient for other people. The rage from childhood, the kind they told you made you difficult. It's still there. The desire to be powerful, not in a palatable, digestible way. Not the tasteful ambition people are comfortable applauding. The raw version, the need to be fully seen, unapologetic, completely yourself. Still there. The jealousy you feel when someone less capable gets what you work toward. You keep that one quiet. Still there. The contempt you carry into rooms where you're expected to feel grateful. The lust dressed up as something more civilized. The pettiness. The cruelty you know you're capable of when you've been cornered long enough. The parts of you that are not evolved, not spiritual, not selfless, but animal, hungry, and sharp. You didn't destroy any of it. You buried it. And buried things don't die. They ferment. They come out sideways. In the contempt you feel toward people who are visibly needy, people doing exactly what you needed to do and were never allowed to. In the instant irritation when someone takes up space confidently, not because they've done anything wrong, but because part of you wants what they have and is furious it doesn't already belong to you. In the disproportionate shame you feel over the smallest selfish act, because somewhere very early, having needs felt like proof of your own failure. Your shadow is not the worst of you. It is the most honest version of you, and it has been waiting, longer than you know, for someone to stop pretending it isn't there. At some point, the mirror breaks. A relationship ends and the person who made you feel real takes the reflection with them. You lose a role, a job, a status, a social world you quietly built your entire identity inside and realize, too late, that you were the role. Someone whose opinion you needed, without ever admitting you needed it, stops watching. And in that silence, something surfaces that should frighten you more than it does. You don't know who you are when no one is looking. Most people don't stay in that silence long enough to find out. They locate a new mirror immediately, a new relationship before the previous one is cold, a new group, a new persona, slightly revised, offered to a slightly different audience. The speed of that search reveals the size of the fear behind it, because being genuinely alone with yourself, without the constant noise of other people's perception filling the space, doesn't feel like solitude. It feels like you're ceasing to exist. But some people stay long enough to feel the full weight of the silence. long enough to stop reaching for something outside it, long enough to hear something underneath. A voice that doesn't know how to perform, has never learned to, and is simply, uncomfortably, undeniably there. Jung called at the beginning. Most people spend their entire lives making sure they never arrive. Now here's what almost no one sees, and it changes everything that came before. You were never chasing their approval. You were chasing a version of yourself you couldn't believe in without someone else confirming it first. The praise you needed from your father wasn't about him. It was a verdict you couldn't trust yourself to give. The validation you sought from your audience, your partner, your circle, it was never in their power to provide. You needed it from inside, and because you couldn't find it there, you built an entire external architecture, relationships, performances, identities, just to manufacture a feeling that was always within reach. Jung called this projection. We take what lives inside us, unresolved, too painful to hold, and we place it outside. We see in others what we won't see in ourselves. We chase in others what we refuse to give ourselves. The voice that criticizes you most harshly, the one that sounds like your coldest parent, your most dismissive teacher, your cruelest ex, that voice is yours. You've been running from your own judgment your entire life and calling it other people's opinions. The revelation isn't that you should stop caring what people think. It's that what you always believed was about them was never about them at all. Jung had a word for what comes next. Individuation. It sounds like something from a wellness retreat. It isn't. Self-improvement is just making the persona more polished, a better performance of the same chase. Individuation is dismantling it, slowly, at real cost, without any guarantee that what survives will be loved by the people who love the performance. It costs real things. Some relationships only exist because of the performance. End it, and there's nothing left to hold them. Some people have quietly depended on your smallness to maintain their own sense of size. When you stop shrinking, they feel the shift immediately, and they won't always forgive you for it. Some versions of you that others are attached to, the agreeable one, the accommodating one, the one who never made things uncomfortable, those don't make it through. That grief is real, and it's rarely discussed, because the truth is uncomfortable. Becoming who you actually are will cost you some of the people you built the mask to keep. That isn't a side effect. That is the price of admission. The day you stop chasing validation doesn't feel like freedom. It arrives more like a funeral, quiet and permanent, and without applause. You are burying the version of yourself built for an audience. You are reclaiming what you buried in the shadow, the anger, the desire, the darkness that was never the problem, only ever the proof that something real was in there. And you are finally, soberly, owning it as yours. What remains is hard to name. Not happiness, the way the word is usually used. Not confidence the way it's typically sold. Something quieter and more structural. A person who walks into a room and doesn't immediately scan it for signals. A person whose opinion of themselves doesn't recalibrate every time someone new forms a view. A person who is, for the first time, the same in private as they are in public. The same in the dark as they are in the light. Jung believed the goal of human life was never happiness, never achievement, never approval. It was wholeness. And wholeness is not the elimination of your darkness. It is the honest, clear-eyed integration of it. You don't become whole by becoming more acceptable. You become whole the day you stop needing to be.